Sorry, I forgot to start recording. So ITSM is all about how you organize your services and the process around this, so that all the IT related services are implemented without any kind of like service description and all. And again, it also works on PDCA, plan, do, check and act, right? Another framework here we are going to understand is called as CMMI. My bad. Let me clear the screen. So another important framework we are going to cover is CMMI, right? What is that? Capability, maturity, model, integration. Capability, maturity, model, integration. It is now owned by ISACA, right? It's a non-profitable organization which also provides certification like CSAM and CISA and those kind of process, right? So it defines 5 different stages. It defines 5 different stages. So let's go and click on this and see what we get. Are you able to see my browser?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So as you know, this is coming under ISACA CMMI performance solutions, and you can see CMMI levels it talks about. So there are total 5 levels which are there in CMMI. One is capability level, that is incomplete, inconsistent performance. So for example, I started my company as a new, we don't have any process around it. It is just, you can say, very chaotic. The environment is very, very chaotic. I just started my business, and it is not required for me also to go and define those processes also, because I just started. Any request comes to me, I work on this. If the client come back with some problem, I address this. Again, client come back, I address this. That back and forth keep on happening until the client is satisfied. So that is what is called as capability level 0, incomplete or inconsistent performance. Then we have capability level 1, which is initial. So in this, it is not a complete set of practices to meeting the full intent of the practice area. That means you have just case-to-case basis, you are dealing with the client. Initial, okay, very, very initial. Just like you started something and within a year or something, you may have this capability model. Then slowly you keep on seeing that few things are getting repeated. Few similar kind of clients are coming. So you are leveraging all that experience from your previous projects you completed. And then based on that, you also define something around that. So how do you interact with such cases? How you can give a service at a faster level? So that is where that stage is called as managed. Then when you start going, maybe after 5 years or somewhere, like you started making profit, you have more manpower. Now it is difficult for different people to follow the same thing. So you start defining process, and those processes are also integrating with other process you have, so that you are meeting your objectives. Right? So such a stage is called as defined, which is kind of reasonably good. Right? Now you have all process defined and all those kind of things, right? Then slowly you will further refine it, right? You will further refine it, and you will start doing quantitative analysis, risk analysis, and you will keep on defining KPI, KRI, those kind of dashboard to see if there is a room for some improvement, right? So that is called as quantitatively managed. And then optimizing is a state of a process wherein you reach to a particular process wherein you automatically keep on identifying risk, then reporting those risks, do the risk analysis, everything is going fine, and you have an inbuilt culture of continual improvement. So that is called as maturity level 5, that is optimizing. Understood? No, in security, why at all we need to go for this kind of model at all? Why? Because, for example, you implemented ISO 27001, right? And company invested maybe $20,000, just for sake, right? $20,000 into implementation of ISO 27001. At some level, your management would like to understand that we are investing so much money. What is the return on investment? Where do we stand in terms of maturity? Maturity of process, right? Whenever we talk about CMMI, please understand it is only gauging your process. So your management wants some assurance that what maturity level we stand in, how much mature is our security practices currently. So for that, they parallelly also go for CMMI. That is the reason why we are talking about this. We are kind of trying to understand this. Make sense? All good?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Okay. Then guys, you might have also heard about Center for Internet Security, CIS. Yesterday, we went to CIS website to see some benchmarking. As a security professional, it's the go-to source for you. They also provide some critical security controls. They talk about CIS top 20. So these top 20 is what are the controls you see here. They are broken into 3 different categories: basic, foundational, and organizational. Basic means you need to have inventory and control of hardware assets. Like you need to have a central inventory management system, right? You also need to not only control hardware, you also need to have the inventory for your software assets also, which are intangible, right? Continuous vulnerability management. You need to keep on running those things like a vulnerability assessment, an internal team which is doing a vulnerability assessment on a regular basis, month by month, and then any kind of vulnerability is patched thereafter. Then controlled use of administrative privilege. We talk about PIM, people having administrative access. Those accounts need to be specifically monitored and controlled. That is what also is one of the control here. Then secure configuration for hardware and software. Configuration management is very, very important. You brought in a firewall worth lakhs of rupees, but you don't have the right configuration done. Is it good, bad, or ugly?
Ugly, sir.
Ugly.
Agree.
Because it has some default configuration. What is the use of purchasing such a heavy, costly firewall in that case? So you need to make sure that all security configurations are also taken care of, right? Then maintenance, monitoring, analysis of audit logs. Very, very important. Until unless you are monitoring your infrastructure and you are analyzing those logs which are coming, you are not going to get the right level of detection and response. So it maps with number 3 and 4th pillar of NIST. Then there's some foundational aspect, right? Email and web browser protection. You need to make sure all emails which are coming in or going out are inspected for any kind of spam, any kind of phishing, any kind of malicious domains need to be blocked. That is why we have DKIM and those kind of things implemented, right, in your email. Likewise, you also need to control what people access when it comes to websites. People can go on Facebook, this and that, everywhere they can go. For a company, that may not be that productive. Also, sometimes there are malicious websites which these people can access. So that is how we do it. We do it in multiple forms. In some companies, we block unnecessary domains, maybe manually or automatically. Or in some cases, we have web proxies. There are very good solutions available. WebSense and all that, right? So they control it. Then malware defenses. How you are going to defend again malwares. You need to have anti-malware system, enterprise level malware system, control system. Then limitation and control of network ports, protocols, and services. How you're going to limit any open ports. Now, you understood from a vulnerability scan that port 3389 is open in your DMZ for one of the server. Good, bad, or ugly?
It will be ugly, and it should be ugly.
3389 is direct remote desktop protocol.
Yeah.
Somebody can try to, like, somehow the password got broken, he will straight away get into your system. Another system you see, port 22 is open. Good, bad, or ugly?
On the database itself?
No, on DMZ.
No, just to the
Okay, on DMZ it's fine if it's open.
On DMZ, it may be fine, but a better way of doing it is you place that web server into your internal network, define a virtual IP for your external facing internet. And if people want to have a remote access SSH session on your web browser or on your web server, let them come through a jump server or let them connect through a VDI. That's even better, right? Those kind of things are specified here. Then data recovery capabilities. How well you are able to recover your data. What is the backup mechanism you have? What is the resiliency you have? How many versions of backup you maintain? Are they being maintained on the same server or they are maintained on different server? Are you having an offline copy of your backup? For example, you are hit by a ransomware. So that is very, very important control. Then secure configuration of network devices, configuration management again, right? That's very important because they are the workhorses for you. They are the guards for you, right? They are the guards for you who will guard you all the time. If they are not configured well, they are not instructed well how to filter, what to filter, how you will be able to get around it. Boundary defenses. Boundary defenses means what? How you are protecting your boundary. Just like I told you in last slide, right? There's a physical boundary, you have fences, all that. In digital world, it is your private IP and outside is your public IP. This is your boundary. What defenses you have here on your gate? You may have firewall. You may have IDS. You may have a IDS in parallel, maybe. Or if you are going to plan a IPS, put it in line. So those boundary defenses, how you define it. Then, I think it is repeated twice here as well, right? Okay, data protection. How you are protecting your data during transmit from point A to point B, or when your application processed and is stored into a database server, how you are encrypting it, all that. If there is privacy information, are you going to mask it or you are going to encrypt it? Are you going to anonymize it? All those kind of controls will come in here. Who have access? That also is another thing, right? That's what controlled access based on need to know. All access should be based on need to know. Only those people should have access who are required to have access. Wireless access control. Now, wireless, every company has wireless, right? Even people coming in reception to your company, they're also sometimes provided access. Guest network, we call it, right? How you're going to segregate your Wi-Fi network with your normal network? Are you going to put a firewall? Recommended, right? So those kind of things. Then account monitoring and control. How you're monitoring your accounts, right? Are you doing access reviews? Are you doing monitoring on that? Those kind of things. And then there are some organizational controls also, like implement a security awareness and training. Seems to be a very non-technical, right? But this is the most important control, I would say. You may have latest and greatest software, technology, process, but if people are not educated, everything goes for a toss. Then application software security. Your softwares, they process important information, maybe for your company employees, maybe for your customers, and that may be regulated data. If these applications, we are not performing a pen test on a regular basis, we are not following secure SDLC process, we are not updating application as and when required, we are not logically segregating the front end with the logic end and the database should be segregated, right? We'll talk about those things. So don't worry if you are not able to get it well. We'll cover those things more in detail. Then incident response and management. Again, response, right? How well you are responding, right? And then penetration test and red team exercises. So these are the top CIS top 20 controls. Go for it, man. This is a famous, you can say, interview thing. You describe about this, people will be very, very happy.